The Art Market with Jasper Johns. Jasper Johns was born in Georgia on May 15th in 1930. He had little stability growing up with his parents being divorced, and he moved around a lot throughout his childhood. Jasper started drawing when he was 3 years old and knew he wanted to be an artist ever since then. He had to drop out of college due to lack of funds in 1951 and was drafted into the U.S. Army where he served for 2 years. He officially began his career when he returned to New York City in 1953. He now has an estimated net worth of $300 million. Jasper Johns was most known for his encaustic paintings. Encaustic paintings are paintings made by using pigments mixed with hot wax that are burned in as an inlay. He also used oil paints, newspaper print collages, canvases, and plywood boards to mount his projects on. A lot of John's pieces of artwork were based off of a dream he had in 1954 of the U.S. flag. Johns would paint simple designs that people have seen before and let them determine their own meaning. He would say, "Things the mind already knows." He would create a line of inquiry and asserts their significance for practice and history of art. Johns served 2 years in the U.S. Army, and that connects to a lot of his pieces of artwork. He paints a lot of flags and targets which can easily relate to his military experience. In 1990, in an interview, Johns stated, "In Savannah, Georgia, in a park, there is a statue of Sergeant William Jasper. Once I was walking through this park with my father, and he said we were named for him. Whether or not that is in fact true or not, I do not know. Sergeant Jasper lost his life raising the American flag over a fort." Most of John's artwork was created in the 1900s and was not specific response to our time. However, he was born and raised in the U.S., and that's what a lot of his artwork was about. Johns was an abstract expressionist, and his paintings of targets and maps would leave people to determine meaning by themselves. John's artwork consisted of lots of colors, and he used them to create images that everyone knows today, like the American flag. John's artwork started to change in the 60s, where he started using more blacks and grays to create a darker form of art. Johns was a very respectable artist, and a lot of people followed his work and studied him. It was hard to find any negative critics about his work. However, Barnaby Wright had said, "Johns never shown any affinity with the populist imagery of Andy Warhol or the objective flatness of Frank Stella. Other than that, not many critics spoke negative about Johns' work." Johns has interdisciplinary connections with the different materials that he uses when he makes his encaustic paintings. He uses newspaper to make paper collages that he then paints over with his encaustic paints. He combines his two different talents to make the paintings that he makes. In 1954, Jasper Johns created one of his most famous pieces of art called the flag. It was an encaustic painting of the American flag. It measured at 42.2 inches tall and 60.2 inches wide. It was made using encaustic oil paint and newspaper clippings collaged together on 3 separate canvases and then mounted on a plywood board. It has a rough, textured surface and only 48 stars that are not made identical. John's inspiration for this painting came from a dream that he had one night of the American flag. The next day, he went out and bought all the materials to create this painting. This painting was then auctioned off for $36 million in 1983. Another amazing piece that was created by Jasper Johns was the Gray Alphabet. Johns created this piece in 1956. It was a painting that used 4 tones of gray to create. The painting had rectangular shapes that were supposed to recall wooden blocks that children use. On the blocks were letters that were placed in an established order. This piece of work was supposed to represent the building blocks of language. Johns was inspired to make this painting by a chart that he saw in a book that had a grid for the alphabet in it. In 2012, this painting sold for $6 million $802,500. I found Jasper John's artwork interesting because he would paint such simple things, but he would do it in such a complex way. I thought the encaustic painting style was very interesting, and I liked how he used this to make his paintings feel almost not like paintings. His paintings were extremely thick, rough, and they popped out like normal paintings do not. I also find it interesting as to why people were willing to spend so much money on paintings that are just things that they see in their everyday lives. Even though Jasper Johns is one of the wealthiest artists alive, I do not think that money changed his artwork. I believe that Johns would have painted the same paintings even if he knew that he would not make much money off them.